Live?
Hey everybody, my name is Ben Hammond. I'll play some music for you here, get things tuned up, get my old loop pedal working. If you haven't seen a looper before, it just allows me to record myself. So everything you hear today is on the old guitar or the microphone. Please could you stop the noise? I'm trying to get some rest. From all the unbullshit noises in my head. Yeah. What's that? What's that?
Paranoid, but I'm not an android. Right.
When I am king, you will be first against the wall. With your opinion, which is of no consequence at all. What's that? What's there? This sure makes you look pretty ugly. Kicking, squealing, Gucci little piggy. I guess he does. Rain down, rain down, rain down, rain down. Rain down, rain down. You're leaving the crackle of pigskin, the dust and the screaming. The earth is never king said. The panic, the vomit, the panic, the vomit. God loves his children. God loves his children. That's inside. You're leaving the crackle of pigskin, the dust and the scream. The earth is king said. The panic, the vomit, the panic, the vomit. God loves his children. God loves his children. God loves his children. Everybody, if you're just tuning in, my name is Ben Hammond, playing some music to get things started off here for this SketchUp conference. Got one more song here, and then we're going to turn you over. Giant steps are what you take, walking on the moon. I hope my legs don't break, walking on the moon. We could walk forever, walking on the moon. We could be together, walking on the moon. Walking back from your house, walking on the moon. Walking back from your house, walking on the moon. Feet don't hardly make no sound, walking on the moon. Feet don't hardly touch the ground, walking on the moon. All right, everybody, thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm gonna turn you over to your gracious, beautiful hosts here. They will get this fireside warmed up for you and show you some really cool stuff. There's an awesome guest today, and I got a little preview of the slideshow, and it is super cool. All of your favorite movies, that's how they do it, man. Thanks, everybody.
Bravo, bravo. That was awesome.
Awesome. That was awesome, Ben.
Amazing.
Is your sampling pedal like tired? Do you have to give it some time out now? I mean, that was like.
It's just like with a computer. Sometimes you just got to shut it off, turn it back on again. We ask a lot of our devices these days.
Time for a reboot.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Walking on the Moon, right, by the Police, Paranoid Android by Radiohead. And we happen to have a guest tonight who's done stuff with outer space and androids or robots and all that kind of stuff. So, excellent choice of music, my friend.
Yeah,
almost like it was planned.
That neural net connection with you guys, it just feeds in.
That's right.
Indeed.
Awesome.
Indeed.
Well, hey, I can't wait to hear it again next week. That was awesome. I don't want to say the first week was bad. The first week was awesome, but you've even stepped it up from there. So this was yeah. I don't know how you're gonna top it next week. You got to slow down. We got 6 more weeks after this.
I know, right?
Pace yourself, buddy. Yeah, down at the bottom, you can see follow Ben Hammond on Instagram if you guys want. Click on that and find out more. Find out where he's playing, where he's touring, all that good stuff. So thanks,
awesome.
Ben.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ben.
Have a good.
Cheers.
Next week.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, welcome to the Fireside Chat series. We're your hosts, Aaron and the Guz. And if you are new to the series, then welcome. If you're returning, welcome back to Around the Fire. Go ahead and pull up a log. Stay nice and warm. Aren't you cold, Aaron? Like I had to put on a vest.
I'm hot-blooded. I'm also very, very. I mean, I'm like I that close to the fire. I'm really nestled in here.
You're right on it.
Super close. Yeah.
White rabbits. You ever notice how the fire like follows you around the fire, like wherever you go? It's weird.
Smoke.
Yeah.
When the smoke gets in your eyes.
So before we start singing here, so what exactly is the Fireside Chat series? You want to know. The Fireside Chat series is an 8-week virtual community experience that blends together entertainment and education. It's our way of keeping the fire aglow since 3D Basecamp just was unable to happen this year. Instead, we're going to sit around the fire each week, focusing on a different theme and interview one of our 3D Basecamp all-stars to unlock their SketchUp secrets.
Right. And this week is going to be, I'm just going to use the term amazing. Chris Rosewarne, SketchUp user extraordinaire, is going to talk about how he uses it in some of your favorite movies. I'm guessing, but I mean, you might not even know that he's worked on some of the movies he's worked on, but he's going to show us how he does his conceptual design work for illustrations for major Hollywood movies. It's going to be awesome.
It will be awesome. And as a reminder, today's episode will feature an interview, a presentation, and there will be a community Q&A session. This episode's expected to be about an hour and a half or so. So pour yourself a cup of coffee and get comfortable.
All right, and we're going to play this out now. This may come up again. Josh has already commented a couple times in the chat, but some people were experiencing some lag, some fuzziness, choppy audio. If you're hitting any sort of issue like that, click right down below where it says Get Audio Video Help over in the left corner. If you click that and click compatibility mode, it'll do something where it buffers the stream, so you get less choppiness and interruption based on your throughput of your internet. So do that if you're running into any issues, because it's gonna be a good one, and you're gonna want to stay live till the end of this one.
That's right. Secret to be revealed. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping. First, we want to mention Q&A and upvoting, right? So, and then also we're going to be having something called the Fireside Lounge after the event. We'll be going to the forum, and our guest is going to answer maybe about 30 minutes or so worth of questions that we can't maybe address during the show. We are recording this, and the recording will be made available immediately after the event right here on Crowdcast. And we also will have a poll, just like we did last week. So, Aaron, what's today's poll?
All right. So we are wondering, we're talking about movies and stuff. So we're curious which one of these is your favorite movie. So if you haven't already, click down below where it says polls. It's got a little 1 next to it, and choose your favorite of the following movies. It doesn't have to be your ultimate favorite, but of these 5, which one is your favorite? In there, we have Guardians of the Galaxy, Mission Impossible Fallout, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, Skyfall, the James Bond movie, and Dumbo.
Awesome. I just put my vote in. And while you're voting, just take a look around here. You'll see something that says ask a question there. That's a great place for you to put in a question that you want to address directly to our guest tonight.
And that's very important. I'm going to stress that. These are questions for Chris. Our administrator is going to keep an eye on there. And if you have other questions like how do I install the latest update, blah, 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 that sort of thing, bring that over to the forum. We'd love to help you. But this list right here is questions specific to what Chris Rosewarne does.
That's right. And then also, if you see a question already in there and you're like, yeah, you know what? That's what I wanted to ask. Just upvote that. And the ones that bubble up to the top will be the ones that we'll ask Chris specifically at the end of the show. And then over on the right, I can see a lot of people participating, little chat area. You know, if you want to clap, if you want to just say what's up, that's the place to do it.
Yeah, you guys are doing awesome over there. That's just kind of where you get to hang out around the campfire and chat like Guz. Well, it's called a chat too. It's ironic, I guess, or obvious. I forget which is which.
Aaron, while we tally those votes, I wanted to bring up a little memory from our last 3D base camp. Do you remember these things? What?
I do. Actually, I got a couple of them. I'll just show it to you. This is my the belt I made.
You made a belt out of it.
Yeah, so I had a couple extra, and I created a 104 gigabyte belt.
That's very, very memorable. This is the funny thing, and if anyone in the chat got one of these in Palm Springs, chime in here. Here's the funny part about this, Aaron, is people were like, "This was the worst eraser I've ever used."
And they're right. It does not work well as an eraser.
And why? Why is that? Because look, it's like a James Bond eraser. Look at that. It was a USB stick the whole time.
We had a number of people try to use his eraser or eat it, and neither of those worked.
No. So, hey, let's check out our poll results. I'm going to go down here and click on polls, and we're going to see
Runaway. Well, no, not really Runaway.
James Bond Skyfall gets pretty good grades, but it looks like number one was Guardians of the Galaxy. Very cool. One thing to note is that Chris Rosewarne, our guest tonight, was actually a concept artist for every single one of these pictures. He's got his hands in a diverse collection of movies, and this is just a fraction of his credits. But, we'll get into that in a bit. Yeah, Guardians was my choice, too. I love that movie. I went in, I wasn't expecting anything because I didn't read the comics. I didn't read the Guardians comics. And so
I don't think anybody did.
Yeah, and I think that's why I loved it. I didn't have any preconceptions. Yeah,
it was a good time. I really liked it. I thought it was definitely one of my favorite Marvel movies. It was a blast, but probably because it was unexpected.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get started. Before we get started, though, I want to offer you something, Guz, because I feel rude keeping it to myself. I did make coffee. That's my own special cowboy coffee that I made just for you. So
all right, it's like a little percolator there. I love percolator coffee. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna just pass this over.
Yeah.
Try that.
Oh yes.
I'm gonna get myself one too. So I don't know if you're a connoisseur of the cowboy coffee, but this is special. You know why they call it that, right?
Wait, it's because if I'm not mistaken, you put the coffee grounds in the water in a pot, and you boil it. You just sort of filter them through your teeth when you're drinking, right?
Well, that's close. A lot of people think that, but true cowboy coffee is made, yes, not with filters because cowboys don't carry filters.
Right.
So to make a true cup of cowboy coffee, you use your soccer underwear. So this is a good one.
Good to know.
So we are going to end this presentation with a little bit of something we didn't do last week. We're going to do a prize. So you're going to want to stick around and actually hear the whole presentation. And Chris is going to ask make sure people were paying attention and ask a trivia question about his presentation, and you'll have the opportunity to win a special prize. Tell us about the prize, Guz.
Yes. Today's giveaway prize is going to be a Gumroad class on modeling titled Camera Drone, Prop Design in SketchUp only, chapters by Chris Rosewarne, our guest. And there you can see what you'll be building in SketchUp. So
it's an awesome class. It is really cool seeing Chris's design process, but you can actually follow along on Gumroad and learn exactly how he made that. It's very cool.
Yes, awesome. So everyone out there, stay sharp, pay attention, limber up your typing fingers in preparation for this giveaway later in the show. You'll just stick around. You'll see it.
It'll be good.
Yeah.
All right.
So
before we get Chris up here,
we're
going to step back into something we've been calling the community shout out.
Yes, community shout out time. Let's do it. Community shout out. So Aaron, who are we featuring in today's community shout out?
So today's community shout out is kind of special because not only is he an awesome SketchUp user, does he have amazing work, but he's actually a Basecamp alum. We're taking a look at Alex Hograff. So Alex Hograff is does a lot of architectural work, but he does an amazing job of joining together his SketchUp models with Photoshop assets, some rendered, some unrendered, and he just makes these amazing images that you have to check out. Check him out on Instagram or check out his website, visualizingarchitecture.com. We talked last week about how people were kind of joking about using Nick Saunders' work as a coffee table book. And in all seriousness, we actually have framed images from Alex hanging in our office. So really cool stuff.
That is amazing. And you can see a little call to action there. Follow Alex on Instagram. You just click on that little green square right there and see more of his great work. Pete's asking for I believe it's visualize-architecture or visualizing-architecture.com. Very good stuff. Actually, better than good stuff. You know what it is? Awesome.
It's
stuff.
Awesome.
Speaking of awesome. Yeah. Is anyone who's joining us today, are you celebrating a birthday or any big event going on right now?
Yeah. Anything special going on in anybody's life besides hanging out with us? You can't all answer that. But like something not related to us specifically, birthday, anniversary, just celebrated 5 years of switching to SketchUp, anything like that.
I'm looking here. Look at this. Oh, Larry's birthday was the 17th.
That's close enough.
That counts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who? Oh, Angela Ross. Yeah.
Samantha, nice. Pastor Project Management ARE test.
Bravo. Sister's birthday. Adam's sister's birthday. Happy birthday.
Fall.
Yes, nice.
It is fall. I'm ready for not so hot weather personally. So I'm good with fall too.
Robert, big milestone 50. That's awesome.
Woo.
Very cool. Very cool. Nice stuff.
Anniversary on the 3rd. Wow, you guys, that's awesome. It sounds like it's been a busy week or so for you all.
And you know who else is staying busy, Aaron? Our guest, Chris Rosewarne.
That was an awesome segue. I almost want to go back and do that again. That was well done. Yes, absolutely. Let's get Chris up here. So we said Chris is an awesome user. He is a concept artist. He's a designer. He's going to show us what he does to make those magical things we see in movies using SketchUp. So let's welcome Chris Rosewarne.
Chris Rosewarne. He'll be popping in any minute now. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones.
This is when that's segueing. Oh, there he is. There we go.
Yeah. He's here, folks.
You got the angelic choir, Chris.
I hear it. I've got my flannel. I've got my enamel coffee.
Hey, cheers!
Awesome. Do not drink Aaron's coffee.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm never drinking coffee around your house.
It's awesome.
I'm just going to power through it, guys. Awesome.
Cool. Well, welcome to the show, Chris. Just so I did have a question before we even hop into it. You're calling in from Prague? Is that right?
Prague in the Czech Republic. Yes, that's correct.
So I just got to ask right off the bat, we've seen you work on Hollywood films. How does that work being in the Czech Republic? And well, I guess now everybody's working remotely, but leading up to now, do you fly back and forth a lot? Do you do a lot of your work digitally?
Born and raised in London, lived there for 25 years, but I moved out to Prague in the Czech Republic to work on a movie. Met a girl, started a family here, but have since been kind of moving between Prague and London for the past sort of 10 years. But also films tend to go into different locations, so I might be taken to a particular location to work on one for a little while. And as you guys know, I was on, just drop that name right now, on luckily enough to work on Dune last year. So I was in Budapest for 6 months doing that, which was absolutely fantastic.
Ooh.
Awesome. Did you spend time in the desert too?
Get to go out to the desert. No, I was chained to my desk and my Wacom tablet in the art department. But, yeah.
Oh man. Well, so as a concept artist, right? Is there anything that you can remember that you've designed that you would like to own, like personally own?
Props that I would like.
That's deep thought right there. I can hear the gears.
I mean, they're all kind of toys in my eyes, and it's so cool to see a lot of designs realized in the workshop. And you do get to have that moment where you go down and you get to hold it, and then the prop master takes it off you before you break it. But I mean, I've been lucky enough to see some of my designs and some of my props get produced as toys. And I think, as I've showed you before, my design for Quill's pistol in Guardians of the Galaxy got turned into a Nerf gun.
Yeah,
that's when you've made it.
Yeah. So I'm fortunate enough to actually have that here.
Oh,
that's
man.
so cool.
Add
Yeah, I
to
think
cart.
your work ends up being sold across the world as a Nerf gun. I think you're, top of your game right there. It's good stuff.
I thought it's very fortunate and extremely lucky. And then I had a friend of mine, another very talented concept artist called Matt Savage, working with me on Star Wars, and all he did was produce and design some really, really cool guns for the last two movies, and all of those got turned into Nerf guns. So he took my kind of like my one record and just knocked it out of the park. But yeah,
Hold my beer, Chris. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, so something you've mentioned as we've talked before is that there's actually quite a few people in your position doing design for movies using SketchUp. Is that something you fell into as you got into this industry, or did you have SketchUp and bring SketchUp with you, or how did you get SketchUp into what you do?
By the industry. I mean, I started as kind of like a 2D concept illustrator. And it was actually on the Tim Burton movie Dark Shadows with Johnny Depp. And the art directors were building these sets in SketchUp and then doing these podium renders, just grayscale renders. And they were giving them to me to then kind of like paint over the top in Photoshop and kind of breathe some life into it. And in the end, rather than giving me the render, they would give me the model. And I would have to start figuring out how to orientate within the model and move the camera, and how do I move that chair, and if I want to add something to it. And gradually I was introduced to it like that. I then did a movie called Die Hard, Good Day to Die Hard after that. And that was really where I had to kind of help visualize a lot of the sets before we ever got anywhere near shooting. And that was a good sort of, a fantastic way to learn SketchUp, just kind of given a few little select projects and got SketchUp on one screen and YouTube tutorials on the other, and just simple things like how to make a cone or how to bevel an edge. And you learn it so quickly.
So before SketchUp, you were using a whole different process, and this is a story that you had told me as a side note in Palm Springs, and it was about the Aliens P5000 power loader. All right. I was wondering if you could tell the audience about it almost sounds like your origin story to me.
and it's funny because I'm 41 years old, and I share similar stories with some other designers who are kind of my age, where now you could kind of think of, oh, what was that movie in the gun? And you could type anything into the internet and up it will come. And you're spoilt for reference now. And whereas kind of back in the day, I loved that power loader, and the way to try and, I wanted to draw it, and the only way I could draw it was to find pictures of it. And so maybe I could find something in like a Starlog magazine, or like it was in a making of book. But what I ended up doing was with a VHS cassette, pausing it sticking trace over like the old sort of CRT television, which is concave, and then trying to draw it. And it sort of made sense on there, but when you pull it off, it was it wasn't particularly accurate. But those were sort of the lengths that I would go to try and get some sort of accurate reference so that I could keep drawing the thing that I liked. You know, I would see stuff like that and would find them incredibly inspirational, especially mechanical things. And it was the same with Predator's Mask. And the way they shoot that stuff on movies is you never get to see kind of a full clean shot of it. You know, it's always at an angle and in shade or something like that. So always kind of lit cinematically. So very, very hard to actually find out all the details on there to reproduce it. But yeah, drawing actually on the TV itself, on trace.
Do you remember about how old you were doing that?
Oh, you just asked our guest to date himself. That's not cool, Guz.
Yeah, but I was about 12. I was far too young to be watching movies like that, but I loved them.
Well, as long as it was just the power loader scene, wasn't the chest
just that
burster.
one scene. Yes.
That's awesome. So I do have a question for you, specific to your position, your job. Asking for a friend. How does one get your job? Not that I want to leave what I'm doing to do it. But...
Listen, I'm happy you asked that, because I would say that's probably the number one question I get, and I'm sure it will come up in the questions at the end. And it's sort of like it's a one sentence question that requires like a 2 or 3 paragraph answer. In many ways, it's like applying for a job in any particular industry, and you have to find out, you know, what is required of you. So you need to look at other concept artists like myself or other people in the industry, see the kind of work we're producing, and try and replicate a similar kind of palette or standard. You've then got to be able to reach out to art directors, production designers, set decorators, prop masters, and then basically be able to show them your work. Now, I know that you're not going to be able to do that in person, so a lot of that stuff is done by email. How do you get hold of addresses, contacts? That's the important thing. How do you get hold of those contacts? Google is really your friend. IMDb, you can go through some of the lists of the latest hits, find out who those art directors, Google those names. A lot of those guys have got websites, and kind of send out. Did you ever used to do cold calling when you were younger? Like you call up a shop and try and get a job. I used to do that when I was a teen, and it's kind of like the email equivalent. You've got to send off your work and say, you know, I'm looking to get into the industry. Here's some work. And then it's kind of a waiting game. So ideally, you need to be quite young when you're doing that, because if you're paying rent, you know, I was fortunate enough to be doing that just as kind of the end of my sort of student years. So I was still living at home, and I could just spend all my time, you know, practicing Photoshop and building an art portfolio. But build a portfolio, get your stuff online, get it on Instagram, and then just start sending it out. And there's going to be, like with applying for any job, there's going to be a lot of rejection, but you just got to keep going, be polite, be persistent, and hopefully you'll kind of get through.
Awesome.
That is great. That is great, Aaron. And you know what, though? I think it's time for a game. Yes. We're going to play a game called You Don't Know Rosewarne. Everyone give it up. All right. So there we go. So You Don't Know Rosewarne. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to ask you, Chris Rosewarne, questions about your IMDb page. We're going to see how well you know Rosewarne. But here's the trick. You can't look. You can't go to IMDb to check this out. So
we got to take advantage. We don't have a whole lot of guests that have IMDb pages. So most people don't have their work published like you.
The keyboard.
Do. All right, there you go.
All right. And so let's see here. Question number 1. According to IMDb, what was your first movie where you were listed as a prop maker?
Yes.
Awesome.
The audio cut out, but I saw you say the words Rain of Fire.
Okay, Rain of Fire. Yes.
Yes.
All right, Aaron.
Perfect.
Question 2.
1 down. All right. This is probably an easy one, but off the top of your head, I'm sure you know, how many Marvel movies have you worked on?
2.
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Next question. What is the thalassyrene, and were you at all responsible for it? And that's what we're talking about. You can see it on screen there.
No. That wasn't me. But,
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna applaud that then.
Yeah. Crisis averted.
We almost had to end the show early. That's you. All right. See y'all next
That's
week.
the end of our show, folks. Okay.
All right. How many movies have you worked on where the movie has included one of the actors who's played James Bond? Think about that one.
How many movies started James Bond did you work on?
reading this, so maybe there's another one in there. I don't. I've done two James Bonds.
That's right.
Okay.
Well,
I was going to say maybe the actors appeared in another one. I couldn't
Yes, I was
remember.
actually, we were looking at Daniel Craig, of course, was James Bond in the James Bond movies, but you also did a movie with Pierce Brosnan, which was IT.
IT. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Okay,
At
we're
1,000.
almost done. Yes, exactly. So the next one is in IMDb Pro's popularity ranking. Where does the movie Dune, scheduled to be released in December, where does it sit on the popularity ranking? And so basically, this is people searching in IMDb this movie's popularity ranking currently. Oh, it cut out on me a little bit. What was that again?
What is the ranking out of?
So yeah, this is out of all movies being researched on IMDb. People are searching for Dune.
I would say, yeah, I was going to say it would be near the top.
It is
number
near the
one?
top. It is
number
well. It's actually currently number 4, but it varies day by day. So
The top works. All right.
yes.
Last question. In 2002, you earned a Primetime Emmy Award nomination for this
2012.
television program. 2012 numbers, huh? How about those things? 2012, you earned a Primetime Emmy Award nomination for this television program. What was that?
My body.
Yes,
Being
inside the human body. Wow, you know you better than we thought you knew you.
To know that, actually, yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, these questions were not shared with Chris Rosewarne prior to this, so I'm really impressed.
That was great. All right. Well, I think that gets us to the point where we are going to let you do your thing. This is the best part of the show right here. And I just want to remind everybody, do keep an ear out, because at the end, Chris is going to ask a trivia question based on this presentation. And if you know the answer and type it in quickly, you could win that Gumroad class.
Pay attention, kids. All right, take it away, Chris.
Go for it.
My name, as you know, is Chris Rosewarne, or Christopher Rosewarne, as I have here. I am a film industry concept designer. Some of the recent projects that I worked on are Jurassic World Dominion, and of course Dune. Everyone's excited for that one. Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, Guardians of the Galaxy, and a whole load more, like you can see here. This is probably approximately about sort of 20 years worth of work, no, just shy of 20, I think, more like kind of 18 years worth of work. Kind of gives you the broad strokes. But I'm also known online for doing this kind of work, which is the sort of more industrial, mechanical, kind of industrial robotics. That's what I would call it. And as I alluded to with Guz, since an early age, I've always had a thing for this sort of industrial robotics, this kind of mecha machines. I've loved this sort of stuff, and actually, 3D in general lends itself really well to playing around with conceptual ideas. I do work for movies. I generally get employed to design props, sets, vehicles, and environments. And I'm just going to walk you through a couple of the most recent. Laser microphone designed for the movie Craig's rifle as he uses it to listen on some bad guys conspiring to do bad deeds in a building across the road. This one, probably one of my faves, from also one of my favorite movies. This is Quill's pistol from Guardians of the Galaxy, modeled and designed in SketchUp, and then
Whoop, lost your audio a little bit there. Sorry about that, Chris. Just letting you know that we lost audio for a second, so that's it.
Yeah, my excuse if my audio dips in, and Guz do remind do.
All right. Let's see. Looks like we're getting a bit of a freeze there, Aaron. You feeling the same thing?
Yeah. Or shouldn't you be tap dancing right now? Isn't this when?
Oh man. All right.
Well, fortunately, I feel good in knowing that everybody on here has spent at least the last 6 months taking their meetings virtually like this. So you guys know that, well, this is just the world we live in.
It's bound to happen. It's bound to happen.
All right. I learned that he's currently in the building.
Okay.
And he's working his way up here. He got stopped by a security guard, had to explain some things. You know, international travel, that sort of thing. Oh!
Booyah! There he
clapping
goes.
Noise, clapping noise, clapping noise. You know, I mean, if this isn't like the universe just saying how important and awesome this presentation is going to be, I don't know what else is.
It builds the tension. And what can I say? You don't get this when you're walking onto a stage. I'm just kind of like, I can see the questions coming in and I can see this invite and I keep clicking in and the camera comes on and then it goes. And I don't know whether do I close out and come back in again. And guys, so yeah.
Technology, huh? It's good stuff. So we did want to tell people that you did not just blow us off and walk away yesterday.
Oh, I did. I bought the vodka in the other room. I was gone. No, I got about, yeah, I think to the guys, as you were saying, that like the Guardian's gone, and I heard you mention something about there was something wrong with the audio. And unfortunately, guys, this screen that we're all seeing now gets covered by my sort of second presentation screen for Keynote, so I can't see any of this. So I'm just assuming that you guys are looking at me and you can hear me, so I just keep talking. And I go for like 20 minutes. I'm like in here, solving all the problems of the world and like talking to people. Like, this is what no change from any other day, but it was only when I stepped out to try to do a key shop chapter that I saw that this page was completely gone. So anyone who's joining in again from yesterday, really, really sorry, really, really sorry. But yeah, the guys are saying that's kind of live technology. So thanks for coming back. Well,
it's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, hey, I mean, that means you're that much more practiced, right? You are. Right? You've been through this already.
That beginning section, I've got it down.
Nail it.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, then we're not going to do anything else. Oh, Guz has a reminder.
Well, I do, yes. Before we get into the presentation, I just want to let the people who were able to join us today for round 2, that there's a little area at the bottom there that says Ask a Question. You can click on that if you have a question you want to ask or upvote. By all means, we have the chat section over there. You can feel free to chime in if you've got some commentary that's not a question related to our discussion today. And with that, I think, Chris, take it away.
Just going to roll in. All right.
Go for it.
Okay, hold your breath. We're going to share screen.
It keeps moving.
Okay, excellent.
All right, guys, we're in. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Yes, my name is Christopher Rosewarne. I'm a
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Hey, we can still hear you.
Good. Good. Am I shouting?
No, you're perfect.
No. You're good.
Go ahead. I'll be back in 90 seconds to let you know again.
Okay, good. Sorry. I am a film industry concept designer. Some of my recent titles, as you can see here, include Jurassic World Dominion, Dune, which I did last year, which I'm super excited to talk about with you guys, but gotta wait. It's out in December. Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, Guardians of the Galaxy, and a whole pile more, which we can see on this little page here. This is about 18 years worth, kind of give or take a few titles. But
Wow.
interesting to see kind of the span of my own career there, and kind of Reign of Fire in that bottom left-hand corner was one of the first projects that I got involved in as a prop maker. Some of you might know me online as kind of that SketchUp robot guy. And this is the kind of stuff that I post online, a lot of kind of hard surface, mechanical, industrial design, tech. I used to love sci-fi movies and robots when I was a kid, and I'm 40 years old and nothing's changed. So my title within the industry is concept designer, and I'm responsible for designing props, sets, vehicles, environments, not so much creatures, but this sort of kind of more hard surface areas is my sort of area of expertise. I'm going to go through some examples here of props that I made for movies. This is a laser microphone for the movie Skyfall, used by Daniel Craig. This is the SketchUp model of it, and this is the key-shot render. And here it is on screen attached to the gun. So he's using it to spy on some bad guys who are up to no good across the road. This is one of my faves as well. This is Quill's pistol from Guardians of the Galaxy. Again, modeled in SketchUp. And I think it was a podium render at the time with a little finish in Photoshop. But here we can see Star-Lord pointing it at Spider-Man's head. Actually, interesting thing about it, look at his hand here. He's a really big guy, and his little finger's not quite getting in there. And I do remember that grip being quite tight, but it's quite funny to see him having trouble with it there. Star Wars, this is the casino droid that was supposed to sort of, there was a gag with BB-8 where one of the drunk patrons then starts trying to goes from this and then starts putting coins into BB-8, also modeled in SketchUp. And here it is on screen.
Awesome.
This is the sniper rifle from Skyfall. I think this is one of my earliest SketchUp models, just as I was getting into it. I think one of the art directors was showing me some kind of simple moves, shall we say, within SketchUp to help me model this. It was a very simple and plain model, and I was doing more illustration at the time, so it was a good kind of base for me to work on top of, but also to pass on to the armorers who did a great job of building it for the scene here. So what I'm going to do today and this evening is just do a casual walkthrough my portfolio for designing this nuclear device on Mission Impossible. I broke it down into screen grabs of kind of various Photoshop sketches, some SketchUp models, some key-shot renders, but we're just going to walk through it, and I'm going to explain kind of what it was like to design kind of like the key prop on, or one of the key props on this movie. So I was tasked with designing this nuclear bomb. The script stated that Tom Cruise is chasing these bad guys who were selling this uranium core, this ball. It was going to be a ball. We didn't even know what the ball looked like, but we're assuming it was a core, so ball, spherical shaped. And so we start kind of looking into some reference online and typing in kind of nuclear bombs and when they were first created. And so we're getting these images here, and that's an actual uranium core on the left.
Wow.
The director wanted to have the scene where Cruise would turn up at some scene, and there would be a device of some kind, and the device would be open, and in the center there was a void, and the expression on Cruise's face would let everybody know that what was missing in that void was something serious, and it was this uranium core. So my job is to then design the thing that holds that void, you know, in a frame, in a case, whatever this thing is going to look like. So again, start by just kind of being on the internet, typing in kind of various keywords, probably getting me into a lot of trouble with Google in terms of my search history. And that's another funny thing you do for movies, the kind of stuff you have to type into your browser, because you're kind of like, oh, all right. So yes, this is a good bit of reference, and the thing that I took from this is all the cables on the outside, because the way they work is you pack the uranium core with with a shell of high explosives, and these are then all cabled up. So already I've got two things to go from. I've got a shell that I've got to create of shaped explosives, and then there have got to be all these cables. So I start, straight away I do some sort of spherical orb that you can see in the core of all these little sketches here. And then I'm doing this sort of an arranged shell of shaped charges. I don't really know what they're going to look like. We're just sort of playing here, playing with shapes. And then I know that if I've got that core has to be held by something, which would be a frame. And you can see that I've gone from that frame on that bottom left, which is a rigid frame, to the one on the right-hand side where the core is supported by some. I was thinking of if it's being moved, it would be really cool to have some sort of kind of pneumatic suspension to kind of stabilize it. Plus, we've gone from that flat plate to also kind of cylindrical shapes, and maybe we'd see some cool polished steel and maybe some anodized parts. So I'm already starting to think how this is going to look like. And this is the design that I'm kind of chasing. So I go from this and I go straight into SketchUp. And this is where I start exploring forms. And the thing that I like about kind of doing in SketchUp, and I actually bypass a lot of my sketching ideas traditionally on paper now, is that I don't have to draw the other side of something. And what I mean by that is that, components. But what I mean by that is I component everything. So I'm the laziest modeler in the world, and I only want to model one item once, and I will copy and repeat that around. And that means if any kind of, as I edit it, it updates all the other parts. And I just find it such a great and efficient way of modeling and working. And also, you're looking at something that looks quite detailed, but actually a very small amount of work was me, and the rest is the software. Now, a question I get asked a lot is, where do I come up with the ideas for all my kind of mechanical techie reference? Me personally, I started life as a prop maker. And this is actually the metal workshop at a place in London called Art and Visual Effects. And so I'm very used to seeing kind of frames being made for music, metal frames being made for effects equipment, for music videos and movies and all that kind of stuff. So all that kind of surface detail is very familiar to me, but I also look online for a lot of it. This is one of the things I love about SketchUp the most is components. It's, it really makes complicated modeling very, very efficient. You can see here that I've only modeled one corner, and it's repeated all the way around and below, which is great, so that any bits of detail that I add to it, it updates it on all of them. Even that core itself is split into, into 6 parts. And then I've split that in half because the bottom is mirroring the top. So again, I'm only modeling like a really, really small section, but it looks quite complicated. So as I'm starting to expand this frame, again, we're playing with this piston idea of suspending that core in the center. All I'm modeling is that. Awesome. But I'm getting, the result I'm getting is this. And again, it's because I'm lazy, and why model the same thing twice? So from here, the script's developing, and we find out that this thing needs to be kind of in more of a sort of a reinforced case. So I look online for reference. This is a military grade missile case, but what I like about this is the ribbing, that aluminium ribbing. Mm-hmm. So I start.
What kind of ribbing?
Aluminum ribbing.
Oh, okay, got it.
And Guz, for your reference, missile is the same as missile. Just
listen, guys, this is what the English language is meant to sound like.
You're right. We are.
I digress. So the aluminum ribs, I work on them again. Same principle is I break it down into components. So I'm making this frame for this kind of chassis to go into, and as you can see here, these are all components, and even within those ribs, that left and right piece is a component. So I really go components as and when I can.
Nice.
Here's we can call it the cassette that holds the core. and there's the spherical center there. The designer said he didn't originally. I had both those sort of pneumatic suspension rods at angles, and he thought it looked a bit too Marvel with the X. And so he wanted to get this a little bit of asymmetry there. So I put them horizontally on the left, which I think works quite well. That's a good call on his part. But you can see how I'm taking, if you look at this as a sort of a graphic footprint, we've got this core, and then we've got this hexagonal kind of outer shell, which is being packed by these sort of explosive shapes, but it's still keeping that initial sketch where it came from.
Nice.
So again, like any good 3D program, you can turn it around and see how this is developing. And I always equate it to playing with a Lego model, for example, and you're kind of rolling it around in your hand and seeing how the proportions are working and where you can add or subtract parts. Even with this frame, you can see it's a component, and I'm only doing 1/2. And again, it's mirrored at the bottom as well. Again, with this explosive core, it's a radial array of components, mirrored top and bottom there. And so visually, it looks very complicated, but if you break it down into those pieces, I'm not doing a lot of work here. I'm really making the software do a lot of the legwork.
Hey, Chris, if I could ask real quick, because people ask this a lot about modeling wires. Do you just, how do you go? What's your process for that?
I will tend to do one spline, let's call it a spline or like a path. And I actually start with a straight line. I mean, I'll jump out in a second. I'll try and do a little demo in SketchUp itself. But I'll start by using the line tool, and I do a straight line. And then I use the arc tool to kind of soften the hard corners there. And then I will send I'll use the follow me tool on a circle profile. Yeah. But actually the big, I'll tell you this in a minute because I had quite a cheat for some of those cables. I'll come back to that one. But you can see now I'm adding extra details to the rest of this, and I'm making 1 or 2 cables, and then I'm copying them around. But then I'm using the scale tool to kind of stretch and distort them a little bit. So it's the same cable, but because I've used the scale tool to kind of distort it or make it look longer, it looks like I've modeled a different cable. Again, kind of little cheats to kind of save time.
Nice.
I jump into KeyShot to do a quick test render just to see how these materials might play when the prop gets built. And this is kind of the thing that I'm after: the brighter aluminum ribs. And then the anodized sides, and really, I want this kind of a bit like when you look at really cool motorbikes, and especially if you look around the front wheel area, it's really kind of like a nice sort of symphony of material finishes. So you've got like maybe like the gold anodized front suspension, and then there's that polished chrome bar, and then there's the some sort of like CNC machine disc brake, and I'm trying to get that sort of material finish here to make it kind of visually really interesting. So that here it is. You can see the cassette part is open here, and it's closed on the right.
That looks fabulous.
Thank you. Got a little fly through that I put together to post on Instagram. Got one of those space mice, which is great for just kind of rotating around a model smoothly. So that's it. And what I wanted is this real kind of visual layering of, like, you could see kind of those outer flat truss parts, and then there's the ribs, and then there's the cables underneath. I really wanted it to look kind of scary in terms of like, oh my God, what is this thing?
So do you get dirty looks from engineering once you hand over the model?
Only if I've modeled it badly.
Okay.
But no, they tend to be quite excited that something cool is coming their way. So nice. I consult with them a lot. I like to go down there because they know way more about this kind of stuff than I do. So I'll always go down and pick their brains. I was then told I had to put a flight case around it. And it was kind of a shame to cover all that detail. So I just do a little test where it's a half exposed flight case. Again, kind of look online for reference, and I start modeling it here. And you can see here, it's just a component, and I've mirrored it below and on the other side. Again, just kind of protecting the corners, but we can still see in there, and we can see all that tech. Not hugely practical as a flight case, but in situ, it would just look interesting and unusual, and you just go with it.
Awesome.
So it ramped up really nicely. And this is the comment that, hang on, let me hide this. Get rid of it. Oh. Yes, are you guys still there?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right, I thought I just clicked something and it disappeared. This is a comment that I get when I usually post, when I start kind of putting this stuff up on the wall, is that they're surprised that it's SketchUp. And one of my little kind of tips for sort of creating sort of more realistic renders are to use a plugin called Round Corner or Fredo Corner. It's a great little plugin, and what that does is it creates a bevel or a radius on all your edges. So the cube on the left has no plugin added to it. The one on the right does. And you can see when you take that into a render, what that does is it creates edges of highlight and shade, which is what you get with real world kind of metal cubes, objects. Your mobile phone is like what, when you're looking at it there or you're looking at your laptop, you can actually see a shadow edge or a highlight edge. And it just helps create a sense of believability within that object. And you can see the edges, they're kind of pinging and catching the light. So that chunk of cables there that you can see in the foreground, that looks about like kind of 7 or 8 cables there, cable tied together. That's actually one path, but I made a profile of like overlapping circles and then sent that down the path. So
Awesome.
it actually looks like it's, like I've modeled 8 different cables, but it's not. It's just a kind of 8 cabled profile. So 8 discs all together, and then sent down that one path.
That's smart.
That's very cool.
So I thought this was a really, really cool looking piece, and the workshop was looking forward to building it, and we were quoting on it.
That's awesome.
So real nice kind of material finishes there. I was really pleased with where this is going.
Is that all? You mentioned Keyshot. Is that all stock render material, or do you make your own?
Yeah, no, it's all stock render material. The scratches on it are dodge and burn brushes in Photoshop. I've got a brush that's kind of the shape of a rock. And so when I dab it on, if I just set it, if I use the dodge or the burn brush, so the dodge brush lightens. So when I dab it on this black anodized metal, it starts lightening, and the more I dab it on, it starts brightening, and actually works. It looks like scratches. So I do a little bit of kind of post-process kind of tickle with it to stop it from looking like such a perfect render, because sometimes they come out too clean, and you have to add in a bit of dirt.
Well, that's the hardest thing, right? Is making something look like it's actually in the world as opposed to a render.
Well, and I was thinking about this the other day. I was in the studios, and I was looking at this. It was this catalog for artificial plants, which they use for dressing sets and stuff. But commercial venues use them, like hotels and restaurants and stuff. You see vines dangling from the ceiling. And one of the reasons why they looked real was because every now and then there would be a yellowing leaf. Like kind of a half-dried or dead leaf, like you look around at your house plants, and there's always a leaf that isn't quite doing so well. So, and I'm going to mention this later. It's the imperfections that make something look more real. So that's what I try to bring back in Photoshop is just kind of the dents and the knocks and a bit of real-world grime, just to kind of help sell that idea.
Nice.
Works great.
It's a little test animation in Keyshot to show how that would slide out. And that core would come out to show there was nothing in it. Cut to Tom Cruise's face, all shocked, sweaty, knowing what he's going to have to do next. So this is the same model. with that flight case on it. And I was really liking how there's this layering of materials and finishes again. Lots of cables because it was scripted. They'd need to cut something as well, like to diffuse it. So I wanted to give them lots of areas of opportunity to where you could get in there and diffuse something.
Nice.
Timer, some room for a digital screen, all that sort of stuff.
Wow.
That's something you definitely don't want to try to carry on an airplane.
Yeah. yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, come on. I like shiny things, so.
But I love shiny things as well, and was super excited to see this go ahead, but then was told one morning, hang on, the script has changed. Oh, God. Right. So they don't need that anymore. And it needs to be, it's going to get shipped in a barrel of some sort. So it's got to be a completely different shape. So back to the drawing board. For me, I've got to design stuff again, but it scares the guys in the workshop because they've got less time to build the thing. So with the brief that this thing is probably going to get smuggled in a barrel. So it has to be kind of disguised. It can't look like it's been smuggled off an army base. Somebody's built it in a workshop and designed it to fit into a barrel, so it's kind of cylindrical shape possibly. So I'm rolling and kind of taking that ball and running with it and playing with this sort of idea of a cylindrical shaped kind of frame, and there's a core hanging in there. And again, I'm just sort of scratching around, and I've got enough to then start playing in SketchUp. And this is something that I do a lot, and if I've got time at the end, I'm going to jump into SketchUp and I'll actually show you what I'm doing here. But this is, I make a disc using the line tool. I draw one line vertically, and then I create a radial array by selecting that first line, and I divide that 360-degree circle into 3. And I'm happy to show you this as a quick demo as well. In fact, I might do that next actually. Shall I jump out, guys, and do this as a quick demo?
That'd be awesome.
Quite confusing, isn't it? Okay. SketchUp. Okay. Let's go with 50 sides. So what I do is I draw a line from the center. Get rid of the axis for a second. I select it. I use the rotate tool. Click, and I do a radial array. I type in 360, enter, /3. Divide that circle by 3 parts. Okay, 3 even parts. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make that one a component by selecting it and pressing G. Okay, I'm going to take the the compass tool. What is that? The rotation tool, and I'm going to do a radial array again. So I'm going to type in 360, enter, /3, and then hit enter.
God, I got to applaud your use of computers to do math rather than doing it yourself. That's awesome.
I draw pretty pictures. Like that's radial arrays are actually quite tricky. And the amount of times I had to watch the YouTube video with some guy doing it, and if it doesn't work, it just means you've entered something in the keyboard incorrectly. The reason why, if I go into orthogonal view like that, top view. So what I wanted to do there is I wanted that circular shape, but I also wanted to eat into it so it wasn't such a clean disc. So you can see there I'm starting to work on one and it's affecting them all. Okay. And then I'll even go as far as that one a component again. Copy drag, flip it along that red axis, it might. There we go.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
doing here, right? If I see that something's symmetrical, I will split it all up because I know that if I start doodling into this, and this is how I basically built that first prop. I'm going to show you on the next page. That inference tool is great. I want a little bit sexier with that radius tool. But what I want it to look like is have that radius edge like machine metal.
That's awesome.
Right. So now if I start to go in here again, and what I start doing is I love all these surface detailing that you get. Copy that one. And in CNC machining, you get these like really nice little slot marks where they've been machining out areas.
That's good. And just wanted to give you a heads up, Chris. We got about 10 minutes still, so.
Okay. I'm gonna talk really, really fast. But essentially, this is how I go about building stuff.
That is so cool.
Right. So we're going to jump back into the presentation. So this is me again, kind of making that circle of components, knocking the corners off, radiusing the center, and using the offset tool to start creating detail, and the push-pull tool to basically come down from that point and start building into this.
Nice.
In terms of how I'm constructing this, it's just in my mind, what I'm wanting are these two end plates to basically have these pistons in and to be able to open and close the core there in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like a mood board in terms of the finish. So you can see here, this is CNC metal with countersunk screws. And this is really kind of like in terms of black anodized and kind of polished chrome rods, and there's a screw thread in there. That's really sort of in terms of like an aesthetic, that's really what I'm going for with this final piece here. Again, here I am clicking into these components. The bottom half is a mirror of the top. Clicking into it, and you can see the center lines on those. So you can see that I've split that into a third, and even that top part there, and one of those pistons. And there's our plate.
I just got to say how cool it is, the idea of using a mood board to design a nuclear device.
Yes.
That's awesome.
You can take something kind of random like that and just think like, okay, this is the sort of look that I'm going for. But this is the thing that got approved. So we're moving forward with this piece, and the one on the left there, you can see the core has parted, revealing the orb in the center, and that's it closed on the right. That's the raw SketchUp render, the Keyshot render on the left. That's the finished one on the right. And although I've added in some bluing, which is sort of a weld burn, and that you get from metal gets from high temperatures. And so this is what I was saying here, imperfections make it look real. There's a weld. And you see it on motorbike exhausts. And so I tend to add things like that into some of the renders just to make it look like it's been in a workshop. And I really just wanted this to be kind of a celebration of sort of machining and CNCing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's getting hot in here, me looking at all this machining going on.
I love all this stuff. And again, so you can see like there's the finished render, but there's the mood board, the kind of the key piece, so you can see where they tied together. Mm-hmm. And there's that nice graphic when viewed from the top. They made
Wow.
so it went down to the workshop. The guys made a foam core test just to see if it was the right kind of size to show to the director. It was approved. And then they start doing all these little tests of the mechanics.
Oh, yes. Oh, man.
So this is
Oh,
they make these test kind of cut pieces out of plexi before ordering, before getting this thing CNC, just to see if the mechanisms will work. But for me, this is really where the magic happens in the workshop. Can you guys hear can you guys hear the sound as well? Yeah. So this is like Christmas. This is what gets delivered. These beautiful CNC cut parts, and it's just I love that. That to me, that's me all over. That's me all over. Seeing these arrive is just fantastic. And I all those holes I remember modeling in SketchUp. So it was really nice to see them translated.
Wow.
So you can see them there. You know,
So cool.
all these parts are arriving.
Woof. Wow.
There's such geniuses in the workshop. It was amazing to see them do that. So this is the guys starting to put these pieces together, which has been, kind of machines. They've molded parts. Some of it's kind of resin, but there's a lot of mechanics going in there. It was just mind blowing seeing what they were doing with this thing, and it was just fascinating because it all came from the SketchUp model, and every day that I'd go down there, it was just getting closer and closer to this thing that I had built.
Wow. It looks like they could really CNC from the original SketchUp model nearly.
They almost did. It was just the tolerances were such that they had to take it into SolidWorks to get some real kind of accurate lines from it. But basically, they were drawing over some parts of my SketchUp model, but essentially they used the entire thing.
Nice.
So that's where the core would be.
That's awesome.
Sounds better too.
Yeah, it does sound like such clockwork. So this is what I'd end up seeing on the screen. And I think they'd taken either the SketchUp model or SolidWorks model, but they were exploding it there. It's kind of saying like, oh, the bad guy's got this version of a bomb. I was like, I made that. The character Luther trying to disarm it. You see it got tilted on its side. That's it opening up. The core dropping out, disarming it.
Oops. Good catch.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, so I use those kind of methods of components. Essentially, it's just components, beveling, and using the plugin tools to and that's how I create a lot of these models here. So the key takeaways would be: make the software do the hard work, use components, look at real-world reference, see how similar products have tackled the same design brief, bevel your edges for the render at the end. Take time. It's a big Lego kit. Have fun. It's a big Lego kit. That's it, guys.
That's awesome.
Incredible, Chris. Thanks for taking us on a tour.
Well, and I have to say, I mean, I know you're playing yourself down a little bit, but it definitely seems like a big piece of that is when you're talking about your mood boards and that sort of thing, is you taking in a specific design aesthetic and working from that. I think it's a big piece of it.
Yes,
but,
yeah, and a lot of that comes from just sort of observation of things in the workshop and seeing how stuff slides and knowing that I wanted something to slide. And okay, so that's kind of pistons and chrome rods. And also I would take that idea and go down to the workshop and I would put the paper down and I'd get like the 6 engineers and prop makers around me and be like, right, guys, here's this idea. Is it going to fly? And they're absolute geniuses down there. Hats off to them. But they will kind of take a cigarette break and they're looking at it and be like, oh, kind of that won't work, but we could put servo motor in there that can talk into each other. Yeah. And their ideas would also influence the design. So kind of making it look more real, because I would then alter it to make it work for them. So it was this nice sort of symbiotic relationship that you'd have, where sometimes if I'd get stuck, I'd go down there and be like, guys, what do you think of this? But it was great. Seeing them put that together was just fantastic, and then seeing it on the screen was wonderful.
That's awesome. That is so cool. I like the idea that, because design constraints, this thing has to be, even though it's in a movie, it has to actually be built. It has to exist in physical space. So it's kind of cool that you can work with the guys who have to do that to make sure that during the design process, that's really cool.
Yeah, well, and of course it was filmed down, that particular scene was being filmed down in New Zealand. So it's got to get packaged up and taken down to Heathrow. And I was just sort of playing in my mind the guy that's got to go through customs and be like, right, got papers for this thing. Just let you know, suspicious.
Let me make a quick phone call. I want to check.
Yeah. But I asked that of armorers who travel with, they'll take kind of weapons, blank firing weapons and stuff like that. And apparently airports are very used to that kind of stuff because of films and things like that. So, papers, it was not a problem. But it was humorous to imagine alternative situations with it.
How do you think?
That is, you know what, Aaron? I think before our audience forgets that we should run the quiz. What do you think?
I think so too. Yes. While it's fresh. So we are going to have Chris ask you guys one trivia question, and the first person to type in the exact right answer is going to win that course, modeling a camera drone by Chris Rosewarne on Gumroad, that class, if you get this question right. So,
all right, limber them up.
So fire away, Chris.
Okay, guys. At the start of my presentation, I go through props that I made for 4 movies. 2 of those props were guns. Which movies did those props feature in? That's what movies did those gun props feature in? Answers on a postcard.
That's not right, Aaron.
I want the class.
Oh, wait. Is that right? Endless Effects?
Dumbo and Sleeping Beauty. Aaron.
That's so close. Well, I will say Endless Effects got the gist of the question right. Are we worried about spelling? I can't hold spelling against someone, so somebody else is going to have to make that call.
No. I think spelling.
All right. Good job, Endless Fix. We will be. I actually know how to get a hold of you, so we will reach out to you after the show, and we will get you access to that class. So, or you can email events@SketchUp. Cool. Well, that was good. We did have several questions come in too, so we can take a look at some of those. So one of the questions we had, which carried over from yesterday from Ishan, he asked about what plugins are necessary for making a model look good. You mentioned Round Corner or Fredo Corner. Are there any other things you have? And he had a second part. This is 2 questions in one, so we'll let it slide. Which was your most challenging project amongst everything you have done? So, plugins you recommend, and what's your most challenging project so far?
Yeah, the plugin I use all the time would be Round Corner or Fredo Corner. I use Add Center Point as well. That's kind of one that a lot of people don't think about. But if you start editing geometry and you want to find the center of something again, like it won't inference. As soon as you edit something, it won't inference. So Add Center Point is good for kind of finding the center if you're doing arrays and stuff. I sometimes use Fredo Scale, is it? And joint push pull to push all curved surfaces. That's really good. Creating if I do that camera drone is a hollow sphere, but I want to give it some thickness, so that will give thickness to curved surfaces, which is great. Most challenging project that I've worked on. I have to say all of them at some point have a moment that kind of makes me sweat and think that I should learn ZBrush or something like that, because it's not going to be possible to build it. And then I find a way around it. There's nothing in particular. I would say all of them guaranteed have some sweet spots and then some points that just make me terrify me. But the interesting thing is, like, having worked in the industry for those years, we've always crossed the finish line. So there's a kind of panic, but also kind of reassurance there.
Awesome. So
Nice. So we have more questions.
we had
there
more
from the
questions,
audience?
but they were kind of repetitive about extensions. We had a question yesterday and today that were similar, but can you just, at a high level, in like a minute or so, can you go through what your process looks like from when you get a brief to when it is accepted?
Kind of like I can condense it, and it's pretty much what I showed you there. There is at the point where I get the brief, and one of my bosses is explaining, okay, there's this object, it's got to do this, and maybe there's this. So, and then they chime in a few of their ideas, and what that does is it kind of warms the oven of my imagination, and I kind of sit there and kind of scribble a little bit, troll Pinterest, I kind of have a look on Google to just see where those kind of mad thoughts of mine go off. They kind of go fishing in it, and go and look at images, and I will start saving images of stuff that interests me. Usually print them out or put them on, but kind of create a mood board and sort of sit there and digest it. What I'm explaining to you there is the part that separates me from a lot of other people, because that's the craziness that's in your brain. Only I'm going to think of the stuff that I'm thinking of, right? So I'm pulling from all kind of influences from movies that I've seen, things that I've seen in the workshop, inspiration from kind of colleagues' work, all that sort of stuff, and then the rest of it, in a way, is kind of process. I will then kind of start sketching in Photoshop a little bit, maybe present a rough sketch to the designer or one of the art directors just to see what he thinks, so I don't go too far in the wrong direction, and then start jumping into 3D, into SketchUp, to start exploring that form, and again, get some eyes on it. If it thumbs up, approval, start doing some renders, and then if everybody's liking it, I'll start kind of doing more polished renders, getting them ready to put on the board and make a presentation to the director. And it either comes back with like thumbs up, or maybe there's like, he liked it, but can you make this bit smaller and that bit longer? Or it's just kind of like torn off the board, screwed up, thrown away, kind of stuff again. But even the negative stuff is good, because you're learning what they don't want to see, which in a way is information.
So what just out of curiosity, I know there's not a set answer, but what's the timeline for something like that, for a major prop like that? Like, is that days, weeks, months? I mean, how much time do you have to get that design right?
I was probably on that for a month, but then I would come up, like in a week, maybe I'll do 2 days on it, and then maybe I'll come off it because there's a sudden quick prop that would come in that would need some emergency attention. And then I would jump back on it. It's kind of the next week. Generally, for kind of smaller props and furniture, it can be like a day turnaround to maybe 2 days to turn it around. So you're really not kind of getting lost in detail. So a lot of it is just kind of building forms and shapes. And that's where, when you're using components in SketchUp, it's fantastic to kind of pull something up and then pull it out on that side, and it's mirroring there, so you can really make sure the proportions of something are correct, and then kind of quickly do these render passes, stick a figure in there and present them and see if that's where it's going. If you need to take it further, they could say kind of polish that, or sometimes they're just happy. There's a big pile of stuff, so they're happy to just, that one's done. It's, the workshop have got, all they need. You're on to the next one.
Awesome.
Very good. Very good.
We got time for one more question.
Cool.
So you know how Guillermo del Toro gets to keep all of his props? Do you get to keep some of your props?
There's I get sort of variations of keeping props. So this is, I've got the Nerf gun
Yeah.
from Guardians of the Galaxy, but I got one really, really cool one that I picked up. One of my first movies, I think it's sort of like nearly 15 years ago when I first came to Prague. I did a movie called The Brothers Grimm, and I was tasked with these are resin knives that they were fighting with. Brothers Grimm is the Terry Gilliam movie with Matt Damon and Heath Ledger. And Heath Ledger was fighting with one of these knives, and he asked for one. So I asked him to sign mine, and he did. And of course, unfortunately, he's dead now. But I've got to Chris. Thanks for the knife. Heath Ledger.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a piece of history now.
It's a piece of history. But unfortunately, no. I mean, you all the props are accounted for, and
So like I was just imagining the nuclear case as a lunchbox.
yes.
No, they actually told him he could have it, but he'd be responsible for shipping it back home. So
yeah, you've got to go through customs with no note.
Oh man,
Awesome.
I hate to say it, guys. We're coming to the end of our show for today.
Well, Chris,
I'm
thank
just happy
you
we
for
made
coming
it.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're here with Chris at the end of the show. Big improvement on yesterday.
I'm going to disappear.
This was awesome. This was truly it was worth coming back for. I'll say that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, and thank you, Aaron and Guz, for speeding me up, because I could talk. There's so many stories at any part of that, so I could go on forever. So 40 minutes just went like that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was great. It was a lot of great information. I'd appreciate, some practical stuff in there too. Some things to think about next time we use SketchUp. That's awesome.
Hope we'll get a chance to do it again.
Yeah.
In person, not online.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
22.
I think Chris will take a little bit of time when we get done with here to go to the Fireside Chat Lounge, to the forum, and answer a couple questions. Chris, thanks again for hanging out with us. It's been a pleasure.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. We'll see you over there in the forum, and hope to see you in person in a couple of years.
Awesome. Well, hear that? It's getting late, guys, even though the sun's still out. But the sun is setting on this episode of Fireside Chat. So we hope that you'll check out the trailer to Chris Rosewarne's latest release. He was involved in Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Expected to land in theaters. Yep, December 18th, 2020. So just double mask, or maybe get a horse trough and you can fill it with popcorn, like a horse. What are those? Horse mask.
Theater. Thing.
You have any words for us?
Obviously.
Awesome. Got any words of wisdom for us?
I do.
Close? Awesome.
Only losers click and drag. Winners click, release, click.
That's great advice. That's great advice.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. It's been a blast. Thank you for coming back. Be here next Wednesday. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. I'm frozen. I'm dancing, but I'm frozen.
I'm moving.